I think we're going to have to move to closing and to keep you guys anything like on schedule for your Walla Walla visit. So, and we'll go in the same order. You have 2 minutes for closing. So we started with Mr. Chushcoff and Mr. Wiggins and justicesanders. We'll go in the same order, and I will. All right, Bryan.
Thank you. Well, as I say, I hope I've made the point that the reason I'm running for this is not because I'm unhappy with where I'm at. I'm running because I am concerned about the public perception of the judiciary. People have to have confidence in our courts. More than any other branch of government, they have to have confidence in our courts. It's where all the battles sort of end, we hope. And they end there because people have confidence that the decision is made on the law and the facts, uninfluenced by political considerations or personal bias. And when people no longer believe that, then we have problems, because that's when people want to take the law into their own hands. That's when people lose confidence in the system and they no longer want to participate. And that is dangerous for us. We don't need any more cynicism than is out there already. And so I ran for judge years ago because I was encouraged to think that I could make a difference. And I think I have been a good judge, and I think I've done my job well. And I've been successful at it. And I think that there's a concern now that the Supreme Court has got problems with respect to political viewpoints. As I say, some people refer to them as activist judges, making a difference. And I think that when we have a situation where the death penalty came within one vote of being invalidated a couple of years ago. I'm from a county in Pierce County where we had 4 officers in Lakewood, which were essentially executed by someone, and that person was killed while being apprehended. But I have no doubt that if that person had been apprehended unharmed, that the prosecution would have been seeking the death penalty. But lo and behold, if one more vote had been the other way 4 years ago, there wouldn't have been a death penalty in Washington. Now, people can have different views about the death penalty, but the point is that I don't find that it's unconstitutional, and I think it's difficult, and one has to be very careful in a 5-4 decision of the judges to take away something that's been part of American jurisprudence since its founding. This is a legislative decision. If they want to remove the death penalty, that's one thing. So my concern has been that political persuasion, political points of view are influencing the court. As one person who wants to try to stop that, I'm going to try to call them as I see them.
I'm going to just stop you there.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, Mr. Wiggins.
Thank you. Well, I want to thank you for taking the time to listen to us and indulging us in long answers and a little bit of back and forth. As you see, we all are invested in this at a fairly visceral and as well as intellectual level. I've always thought that public service is a very important part of life. I've never thought it was enough just to be in a business, that law is a business. I think it's a profession, and I think we have an obligation to serve the public. I've tried to do that over the course of my career through having served as a Court of Appeals judge, having served as a pro tem Superior Court judge, and through hours and hours, hundreds and maybe thousands of hours of volunteer work with the Bar Association, through pro bono work, for which I was recognized by the Union Gospel Mission as their Volunteer of the Year at their legal clinic in 2004, through community service like Habitat for Humanity, for which my local bar, the Kitsap County Bar, awarded me the Humanitarian Award, for other Bar Association work for which the Young Lawyers Association of the Bar awarded me the Professionalism Award in 2009. And so I've come to the point in my career when doing this part-time is not really what I want to do. I really would like to be a public servant full-time, because that's what I see in a judge, is a public servant. I think that I agree with much of what Judge Chushcoff has said about Justice Sanders interjecting his personal beliefs, his ideology into cases. And in fact, his very words, "I'm entitled to my opinion," I think that kind of encapsulates his philosophy, that he has an opinion and he's entitled to his opinion, and he puts it into his decision making. That's not what judging is. What judging is following the law, honoring the law as adopted by the legislature, adhering to the Constitution, and putting aside one's own biases and prejudices. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wiggins.
Well, I've
Yes, sir.
been on the bench, of course, for 15 years. I've done a lot since I've been there, not only all of these cases that I've sat on, opinions that I've written. I've done a lot of writing and speeches, law review articles. Wrote a chapter in a book on the criminal law along with Alan Dershowitz, Alex Kaczynski, Richard Posner, and other legal scholars and authors. So I would encourage each of you, if you have a chance, to look at this packet, and maybe you'll get a broader understanding of what I was unable to say in 2 minutes. I think that I don't know of this politics and injecting politics into the role of the court. I think I have a judicial philosophy, and I think that every member of the court has a judicial philosophy, and I think that my two challengers have a judicial philosophy, and they're not always the same. But that doesn't mean that we have to disparage each other as being immoral or unethical. We're just different, and I think differences for a 9-member court are a good thing. They're the strength of the court. They're not a bad thing. One case, what we haven't talked about, was my colleagues want to just talk about government cases. Well, there was one case that I think was the highlight of my career on the state Supreme Court. It involved a man, Ralph Seeley. He was a journalist, also a lawyer. He was dying of cancer. He was taking chemotherapy. He was taking radiation. He was deathly ill, nauseated. He brought an action to invalidate the absolute prohibition on the use of marijuana. This is before the initiative was passed. That was an 8-1 decision. I agreed with Mr. Seeley that he had a constitutional right to use marijuana in his deathbed. It was later, my decision was later published verbatim in the Seattle PI, and I got a fan letter from Ralph Seeley, who died shortly later. He said, "I recall thinking as I read through it the first time, damn, this is so well written, it's a shame. Only about 30 people will ever read it." Then the Seattle PI ran it as an editorial, and it literally made me laugh. It's not better than winning, but it sure makes losing feel better. So I think I made a unique contribution to the state Supreme Court. And yes, people don't always have to agree with me, and I have a point of view just like everybody does, and I try to articulate it well.
All right. I want to remind everybody to stay seated until they come in. I'm not with you. But I also want to take this opportunity to thank all 3 of you for making the trip over here and meeting with us and spending so much time this afternoon. And I also want to thank you on behalf of the whole editorial board, all of you, for your willingness to run and to put yourselves out there and to serve the state of Washington. It's much appreciated.
Thank you very much.